Hey, it's Jumpy. I'm back for another video. When I finished my 2022 movie rankings, I wasn't sure what to do next. I have so many possibilities, so many movies I want to watch and talk about. After some careful deliberation, I settled on a movie that's both a blast from my past and something that I've never actually seen before. The movie in question is Rest Stop, which is a 2006 direct-to-video horror movie. I've been aware of this movie's existence for about 15 years now. It's something I almost watched back in the day. In the big city close to where I live, there are two stores I always used to go to. There was a used bookstore and a used video game and movie store. I remember both of these stores having a copy of Rest Stop on DVD at one time or another. And now that I think about it, it could have been the same copy. That would mean that somebody bought it at one store, subsequently watched and hated it, and then sold it to the other store. And now that I've seen the movie, that actually makes a lot of sense. And it's also a lot less scary to me that there was only one copy floating around out there rather than two different ones. Okay, I promise I do have nice things to say about this one, and I'm gonna be fair. Rest Stop is about a 20-year-old woman named Nicole. She lives in Texas, and her parents don't like her, so she runs away from home with her boyfriend Jesse. They plan to go to California to be in the movies. Anyway, along the way, some dude in a truck starts stalking them, peeping on them, and even tries to run them off the road at one point. Eventually, Nicole and Jesse go to a rest stop. When she returns from the restroom, Jesse and the car are gone, and Mr. Truck, who I mentioned earlier, is on the prowl. The main character, Nicole, is played by Jaimie Alexander. Now, only two people are ever going to see this review. One of you is asking, who is Jaimie Alexander? And the other one of you is thinking, God damn it, Jumpy. I know exactly what you're going to say. Don't say it. Well, I'm sorry, person number two. I need to answer person number one's question. I know Jaimie Alexander from the Thor movies. She played Sif, and I love that character. She's really fucking cool. She was in the first movie Thor, and the second movie Thor: The Dark World. Unfortunately, she was busy with her TV show Blindspot when they made the third movie Thor: Ragnarok, but she came back for a small part in the fourth one, Thor: Love and Thunder. And let me tell you, this movie Rest Stop is no Thor: The Dark World. Unlike any of the Thor movies, Rest Stop was written and directed by John Shiban. He's best known for his television work, which includes writing episodes of The X-Files and Breaking Bad, both of which I've seen and enjoyed. Rest Stop was the first movie released by Raw Feed, which was a short-lived direct-to-video part of Warner Brothers. I think they should have put "from the home video division of the studio that brought you All the President's Men" on the cover. That certainly would have sold more copies. I mean, it would have gotten me to watch it 15 years ago at least. And check out their logo. It's ridiculous. Can you imagine needing to buy an extra outlet plug adapter for this shit? Plus, what are they going to call it? An RF adapter? That's going to confuse people thinking it's a radio frequency adapter when it's nothing of the sort. I'm just saying. I'm in no rush to convert all of my electrical outlets to raw feed outlets. So let's get to the actual movie and start with the good. It's very watchable, which is something I really value. It's only 85 minutes long, and I was never bored. Time didn't completely fly by, but it certainly felt shorter than it was, and it wasn't painful to watch. Even if I didn't think it was the most clever movie, I'm going to give it props. Do people still say that? I don't know. I'm going to give it credit for setting things up and paying them off at least. I'm not going to go into specifics, but it introduces items and things that will come into play later. It happens a few times, and I do appreciate that. And a couple of themes run throughout, like private demons and being called a baby and trying to prove that you're stronger. They're not amazing, but it's something. It's more effort than in some movies that I've seen. When I started watching the movie, I had no idea who was acting in it other than Jaimie Alexander. I can't call hers a particularly great performance, but she has her moments and she tries. But later on in the movie, another new character is introduced, and I thought, holy shit, is that who I think it is? And it totally is, and they're entertaining. They even get a monologue. Not a great performance either, but they have some fun moments. There are some unintentionally funny parts. I wouldn't call it so bad it's good overall, just a few scattered moments throughout the movie. I got some enjoyment out of the ridiculous lengths the killer was willing to go just to fuck with Nicole. That's a weird sentence. It was supposed to be horrific, but I thought it was comical at times. I have a few other things I want to say, but they are spoilery. I don't think anyone is actually going to watch this movie if you haven't already seen it before listening to this review, but I'm going to put a spoiler section at the end just in case. I'll give you a warning before I do, as well as an option to skip ahead to a timestamp for my final thoughts. But non-spoiler versions of things, there was one particular sequence I thought was decently well done, and another was kind of creepy. The movie itself is fairly graphic at times, but only one violent thing was really icky and made me wince. You can take that as either a good thing or a bad thing, and I can't say I liked it, but that thing was effective at accomplishing what the filmmakers intended, which was to make me uncomfortable. Now, some things I didn't like. I thought the dialogue was pretty bad. It doesn't help that there's too much cursing. For reference, my favorite movie ever is Casino, and they say fuck so many times in that movie. My problem with Rest Stop is that it felt forced. Also, Nicole talks to herself way too much. I guess a voiceover would have been even worse if those were the only two choices, but it wasn't great as it appears in the film, and I don't think she sold all her lines. And overall, I didn't think the movie was scary or had much of a sense of dread. This next one isn't really a personal negative, but I know it will be for some people. I'm usually not great at predicting things, but I saw a couple things coming before they happened, so they're probably going to be pretty obvious to a lot of people. I'm totally fine with this. It didn't hurt the movie for me personally, and I'm not going to knock it for it, but I'm mentioning it here just in case you're someone who has a problem with that. It's not all predictable though, and yeah, I'll talk more about this in the spoiler section, but there's a component to this movie that I want to discuss. Okay, spoilers incoming. Skip ahead to this time on the screen for my final thoughts. Alright, you ready? I'm gonna spoil this shit. I'm not kidding. Here we go. I wanted to single out a scene that I liked. Out of nowhere, Jesse's car is back at the rest stop. Nicole runs up to it and gets inside. She then tries to start the car. Then there's some close-ups of her hand as she turns the key and she touches the center console between the two seats and gets blood all over her hand. I thought I was watching a Robert Bresson movie for a minute there with all those hand close-ups. Not really, but they're good. And as an aside, I would have loved to have seen a Robert Bresson horror movie about a murderous thief. He could have called it Pickaxe Pocket. Back to the scene with the car and rest stop. While it wasn't particularly original and it was obvious Jesse was not safe, I liked how it played out. Then the truck shows up and crashes into the car while Nicole scrambles to escape. The RV scene that follows is decent. The RV has been parked there the whole time. It turns on and Nicole runs inside as they drive off. There's a family inside. It feels bare bones at first, but it's the best sustained creepy part. Things are obviously off and they aren't going to end well with Nicole getting away. But the moment where the driver dad man says, "You thought you were free?" That's the scariest part of the movie. I did like that line a lot. In terms of visceral horror, we have a scene where the killer bites off one of Jamie's fingers. I already talked about the hands close-ups, and now we get finger chomp-offs. That's the only violent bit, pun intended, that made me wince. And that pun probably made somebody wince. Probably person number 2 from earlier who didn't want me to talk about Thor. I'm sure you didn't like that one either. But for real, Jamie Alexander is really good in that moment, and that's one of the moments that she totally sells. I want to talk about something briefly. There was definitely a trend back then in multiple horror movies with finger violence. Hostel, Wolf Creek, the Hills Have Eyes remake, the House of Wax remake, I'm counting these with my fingers right now, and I'm up to 4. And there's probably some others that I'm forgetting or haven't seen. These movies all had scenes where this happened, and that's quite a few movies that love fingers. Or hate them, that's probably more accurate. I never figured out why so many movies did that, but that's something I wanted to point out, pun not intended. And now we get to the supernatural element of Rest Stop. Yes. As of this recording, I have not looked up any online discussions or read a plot summary. These are my thoughts and interpretations of what happened in the movie. I'll admit I could be wrong. I even watched the movie twice to do this review, which is not something I will do for every movie. It's just that this is my first full review, and I wanted it to be good. So the killer in the movie isn't human. That's what a ghost girl tells Nicole. That girl went missing in the 1970s, so the killer's been at this for a while. I mentioned earlier that there's another character who shows up. This character is a cop. He's played by none other than motherfucking Joey Lawrence of all people. Yes, he was in that second Urban Legend movie, but it's been a while since I've seen him in anything. I think Joey Cop is a ghost too. Nicole radios for help, but I'm pretty sure she's just talking to the killer. And then the killer sends the cop's ghost to give her some false hope and fuck with her some more. That makes more sense to me than Nicole's radio call going through and the cop actually being sent there. Otherwise, I don't know why the killer would play back the recording of the radio call other than to just let her know that he knows help is on the way and that he's ready to stop it. Nicole is able to interact with the cop's body, but it's established earlier that Nicole can interact with ghosts when she slips in Ghost Girl's blood. Also, both the girl and the cop disappear after they die. The cop's death is kind of ridiculous too, and he survives something that I'm pretty sure he wouldn't live through. At least, I don't think he would be able to speak clearly afterwards and not be in completely agonizing pain. When Nicole is killed at the end, the RV family buries her body. Since she has an actual body that didn't disappear, that makes me believe the cop is a ghost since there was no body afterwards. One of the moments I thought was predictable was when Nicole kills somebody she thinks is the killer, and it turns out to actually be her boyfriend Jesse. We never see if Jesse's body disappears or not, unfortunately, but I'm guessing that it doesn't. But at the end, Nicole's ghost haunts the rest stop restroom just like the ghost girl from earlier. That's not a fun fate. Maybe there's something I missed and I don't fully understand how these things work. I tried. The movie tried something with the supernatural angle, which is definitely where John Shiban's X-Files roots are showing. I mean, there were a couple ghosts in that show. End spoilers. There is a sequel. It's called Rest Stop, Don't Look Back. It has a completely different director, but it was also written by John Shiban. It was the last movie released under the Raw Feed label, which means that the Rest Stop movies bookended Raw Feed's releases. But I don't feel like watching it. Maybe it'll expand upon some of the things I talked about in the spoiler section. I'm just not invested enough to go on. Maybe if I ever do 1,000 reviews, I'll watch it for that milestone. I don't know. Fuck. So do I recommend the first Rest Stop movie? It depends. If you're a casual horror fan, skip it. There are so many better movies out there. If you watch a ton of horror, it's not a very good one, but it's watchable and it'll kill 85 minutes. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. I don't plan on watching it again, but I didn't hate it. Those are all my thoughts on the movie, so I'm going to rest stop now.